Rappers and producers, how do you promote your music when you are flat broke? There ain't no money there because flat broke. Rappers and producers, I got posed a question, not even through my YouTube comments. I got posed a question from an artist that's within my community. He asked me, he said, man, you know, you provide a lot of great information on your YouTube and I think it all applies. But he was like, man, but you got to have money to do some of these things like Facebook ads and, you know, getting on shows. You got to have money. What about for the people that don't got no money? He got money. He flat, bro. What about those people, Curtis? And as I listened to him talk, I listened and I understood what he was coming from. But the first thing that came to mind was my own journey. And I can tell you this, for the better part of my career, I have been challenged in the finance department. Now, of course, everything changed within the last 4 or 5 years. But for the greater part of my career, especially the beginning, even when I had a job working at Quiznos, like literally my paychecks would go, I say 80% of my paychecks were going towards this Volkswagen Passat that I had that was actually a pretty nice car, but then they got repo. We're not talking about that right now. But basically the better part of my check that I was working so hard for was going directly to paying off this vehicle. So I really didn't have any money per se. I had a little bit of money, so I had to be very responsible about my spending, especially if I wanted to upgrade my equipment. But what I found was that I knew my situation was what it was, right? When I say it was what it was, like I knew that I was broke. I knew that I didn't have a lot of finances, I didn't have a lot of resources per se. But what I learned during that process and later on when I started listening to people speak, what I learned is that, you know, a lot of motivational speakers talk about being more resourceful as opposed to just not having enough resources. Money is a resource. So my idea, my definition of becoming more resourceful during that time was, okay, I can't afford to have a music director basically bring my music to life and have a visual representation of my music. So what am I going to do? Well, I got this little $100 camera that my grandma got me, and I do have access to YouTube, so I can probably mix together some clips off of YouTube that are really HD, and then mix together some clips of this camera and really just tell my story the best way I know possible and the most artistic way I know possible. And would you know that that whole idea and that concept of being more resourceful, it trickled into every single thing else that I put my hand in. I said, okay, well, I don't know how, not even that I didn't know, or maybe I didn't know some graphic designers, but I couldn't afford to pay their fees for, you know, album covers. I didn't know anything about making an album cover. I didn't know anything except for I know a bad one when I see one. And I went through many of bad designs before I eventually got to a level that was like, you know what, I'm comfortable with my graphic design, you know, in this realm. And really, I taught myself graphic design from watching YouTube videos. And really what it started to teach me was that, you know, no, you don't want to have to do everything yourself for your entire career. That is not a sustainable career. At some point in time, it's going to all collapse down on you because you just can't do it all yourself. At some point in time for growth, you know, either it's going to fall down on you or you're just going to be stagnant at a certain point. Because at some point, you got to start delegating some of these responsibilities off. So for me as a rapper, for me as a producer too, you know, because I know, you know, it takes money to have gas to get to these studio sessions. I know that it takes money to buy drum kits. I know that it takes money to get FL Studio, even though I didn't pay for FL Studio in the very beginning, if we're going to be real about that. I knew these things required money, and so what I did was I tried to become more resourceful with what I had. I remember being in the studio sessions where, you know, I didn't have access, or I thought I didn't have access to sound effects, you know, like really high quality sound effects that I wanted to put in my songs. So, you know, I had like a little skit that I was working on for my album. I remember I got a shoebox full of, it was either like dirt rocks or something like that. And it was supposed to be signifying, well, I actually got a shoe too, and I put the shoe on top of the box, and that was supposed to be steps that were happening in the scene where I was walking from my car. I don't know. I just figured stuff out. I was like, okay, how can I have a really loud sound within my beats that sounds like almost like the clip sound from the, what do you call it, this song, the Grinded song with the Neptunes. I said, how can I emulate that song without having that keyboard? So then what I did was, this is embarrassing. I took the top of this plastic box that I had, I scotch taped it around or duct taped it to a chair, and I think I put like a balloon underneath it, and I just dropped the chair over the top of it. I'm not saying you got to do all that, but what I'm saying is that you got to be resourceful. That loud pop that happened because of that ended up becoming like a kick drum or some kind of boom, boom, and I just, I slammed the chair and I used that sound effect. So aside from what you can do creatively, what can you do from a business aspect? I'm pretty sure more of you want to know about that. So really what you got to do when you're in a position of not having a lot of funds, you have to be very resourceful with your free traffic. Where places that you get your free traffic? Your social media, your Twitter, your IG, your Facebook, your YouTube. You're not paying for these things to have them, right? You're getting free traffic literally by understanding the tools that come with these particular networks. Twitter, if you understand the hashtag game and how to add your conversation, every time there's a major sports event and I'm actually interested, you're going to always see on my Twitter account, I add something to some popular hashtag, because during that process, I'll scoop up about 25 to 50 new followers who may not even never necessarily listen to my music, but at least they're paying attention to my thoughts. And what is my music but a reflection of my thoughts? So this is how I start to draw people in. The same way we talk about people using these tactics on Facebook that a lot of you were calling like clickbait. I mean, this is still a tactic marketing wise to bring an audience in and expose them to the actual art you want them to be exposed to. So this is no different. So what I suggest to you is that with the resources that you do have, you just have to learn how to become better at Twitter, better at Instagram, better at Facebook, better at YouTube. Learn how to understand SEO within Facebook, understanding, taking a course within a YouTube and understanding, what does SEO do for my videos? How titling my videos, like how putting certain keywords closer to the beginning of a video, how does that make people search out my content even more? There's tools like Google Keyword Planner that can help you out tremendously if you know what you're doing. But for the most part, not having money is not a great enough excuse. Not having enough money is not a great enough excuse for you not accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish. So when you don't have resources, the best thing that you could do, the next best thing, is just to become more resourceful. Once again, it's another Curspiration Doodle. If you need some more of this juice, please subscribe to the channel below. Be part of the notification gang. Hey, this is a full-on choreography now, Richie. They can't stop it now. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters, patreon.com/Curtis King. But you guys tell me what you think. What kind of strategies would you suggest to your peers for those who don't really have a huge budget? What would you suggest that they do? Please leave it in the comment below. Help each other out. And, I don't know what to say. Richie, I had a brain fart.
Oh, gosh.
In this life, it won't be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Curtis King at CurtisKingBeats.com. That was terrible.
I can't listen to you. When I listen to you, it's a liability. Cause you be mentally killing my inner energy. So I'm concealing my feelings before you injure me.